So how much should you pay your teacher training faculty? This is an excellent question, and it depends on a lot of factors. One, it depends on where you are in the world. If you're in New York City, that is going to be a different kind of pay rate than if you are in the suburbs or in someplace that's more rural. Probably a different kind of level of pay scale. It's also going to depend on the seniority of your teacher. How long have they been teaching? How much do you trust them? How much experience do they have? That's going to be a factor as well. Also, another factor is whether or not you are providing them with the curriculum to teach, lesson plans, you provide the student manual, etc., or if they're bringing all that with them. So if they're bringing a lot of the content and the handouts and all that stuff, then you'll probably be paying them a higher pay rate than if you're handing them something and they're teaching your material, which is an option. So those are just some of the factors that might play into what you pay your faculty. Also, how many faculty you have. So if you have 2 faculty teaching the training at once, well, you might not be able to pay them as much as if it were 1 person, right? So just some budget stuff. And I do have some budget blogs and things like that that you might want to check out to kind of get a lay of the land. So some things to think about. Your faculty should earn more for teacher training than they do for just a regular class. And the reason is that it requires a different and additive skill set to teach a teacher training, or it should. In addition to being great yogis and understanding the content of yoga and how to practice it, your teacher trainers also need to have a high degree of facilitation skills. They need to be able to hold space for a lot of different personalities, to manage lots of personalities, have a high EQ to create a safe and supportive space where people feel really good. And they're going to need to be able to answer questions about how to teach that a yoga teacher who's just teaching a class doesn't necessarily need to know. So a little bit of a higher degree of skill. So if you look at what you're paying your faculty for their group rate, it should be something that's higher than that. Now, just to give you some idea of some pay scales, when I first started as a little baby teacher trainer and was assisting, I got a stipend. So I wound up getting paid like $20 an hour as a stipend to support that. And, I did administrative tasks and took attendance and helped the trainers and stuff like that. I was a support, and I was also learning the ropes. Now, as a regular teacher trainer, someone who's kind of a lead or can hold space by themselves, I think regardless of your market, you're going to be looking at least $50 an hour, at least if they're teaching your material, and up to any like 100 probably. That would probably be the max just because we usually can't afford more than that unless there's lots of students. So anywhere between 50 and 100. So if you're looking at a lead teacher who has a good deal of experience and is facilitating, maybe you're starting at 65 or something like that. Again, run your budget with how many students you have and get a sense of what you can afford and what makes sense. Now, different ways of paying your faculty. You could pay your faculty a percentage, like, hey, you take 50% of the training, I take 50. I don't love that because as a studio, if you're running a teacher training, I want that to be your training, your material, your content. I want you to own the curriculum to make you bulletproof against faculty moving to another state or something like that. Also, I think it's easier for you to budget and know exactly what you're paying if you are paying an hourly. And frankly, folks, studios are going to be doing the majority of the marketing work. Like, yes, our teacher trainers help, they announce things, but oftentimes it's really the studio that's bearing those particular costs and also the space rental and stuff like that. So, my personal preference for you would be to pay by the hour and have something that's consistent there. But I do understand if you're really partnering with someone, then you might do a revenue share. Totally get it. The other thing I want for you is I want you to own the material that you're teaching if possible, because again, you want your training to be consistent and not be reliant on any one trainer, no matter how much we love them. Again, that's the ideal. Sometimes it doesn't work that way, but that's probably what we would want. So there are just some thoughts for faculty and for how you would work with them. You definitely want to create faculty contracts. You're going to want contracts, and very specifically in the contracts you create with faculty, you want to outline pay rate, yes, for sure. But also, here's something we don't always think about including, are deadlines for canceling the training, right? So I need to have 6 students by February 14th in order to run the training, or something like that. You want it to be super clear when faculty are either committed to the schedule or released from the schedule, because that's 200 hours of time. That is a lot of time for them to plan and schedule their lives around. So you need to have clear deadlines about when you are assured that you're going to make the budget you need in order to run the training. So make sure those deadlines are a part of it, and also make sure there's a clause in there maybe about faculty needing to market some stuff, put some stuff on social media, send out a newsletter, that kind of thing, so you can kind of team up on that marketing piece. And also make sure there's a piece in there of what happens if faculty bails on the training. Now, realistically, are they going to pay you if they bail? No, probably not. But there needs to be some understanding in there that if faculty decides 3 weeks before your training is starting that all of a sudden they need to go on a trip, that there are consequences to those kinds of actions. Maybe the loss of future opportunities and the like. You also want to have in your contracts privacy and confidentiality and intellectual property, folks, especially if this is your manual, your training, which I hope it is. You want to make it clear that faculty can't go off and use those materials somewhere else. Not that they would, but they might. No, yes, maybe. So put it in the contract. Okay, guys, there are some thoughts about working with faculty, pay rates, what you should look for in a good faculty person, and in terms of their emotional intelligence, ability to hold space and facilitate, be an adult. Very important in your teacher trainers. And then, of course, maybe some thoughts about contracts. All right, if you have questions, hit me up.